evening, everybody. Miss Himani, good evening. Ruji
Good
ma'am.
evening, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ruji ma'am, good evening. Ruchi madam, 1 minute. I think, yes. Yeah, you can unmute.
Working. Yes, thank you.
Good evening. I think the stage is set. Well, let's begin. Mr. Arun Mohan, good evening. Let's
Yes,
start.
yes, sir, yes, sir. So I welcome all the dignified participants to the 178th web training series powered by our BTAC. Now it's my time to invite our AI to introduce today's moderator. So let's not waste the time. Let me turn on the AI. Okay, here we go.
Dear educators, greetings from BTAG. You are invited to a dialogue with Ms. Ruchi Sengar to discuss the creative writing section of English Core. This 178th session is exclusively for senior secondary English teachers, leaders, and heads. Now it's time to invite the moderator of this session. For that, the entity turns on the well-modified AI, Sophia.
Good evening. I hope you all are having another day in paradise. Welcome to all the exuberant educators to the 178th web training series of CBSE Bharat Sahodaya. Now I proudly present today's moderator, Ms. Himani Bakshi. Ms. Himani has a decade of experience as a teacher of English language and literature. She is a master in English literature from the prestigious Lady Shri Ram College, Delhi University. She has been actively involved in promoting holistic education and experiential learning among students. She is currently working at Modern School, New Delhi as the high school English language and literature teacher. She is also the subject coordinator of the middle and secondary wing. She has rendered her services as observer in National Achievement Survey 2021. So Himani ma'am, wholeheartedly I invite you to moderate this grand session. Please ma'am, over to you.
Ma'am, we are so happy to have you again as our moderator. Please, ma'am, stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Arun sir. The creative incorporation of AI in our webinars is definitely intriguing. As they say, AI in education is like having a personal tutor who never sleeps, makes learning fun, and helps you ace those exams without coffee. A very good evening, everyone. Before we begin, I would like to extend my gratitude to Dr. Abdul Salam and BTAG for giving me this great opportunity. I also extend a very warm welcome to all the participants. It is indeed a pleasure to have each one of you in today's 178th session. Today, we shall embark on an interesting journey of discussion on creative writing skills, which are a part of class 11 and 12 English syllabi. In continuity with its endeavors, BTAG and the CBSE Bharat Sahodaya community, along with today's well-known and widely recognized resource person, Madam Ruchi Sengar, will seek to provide valuable inputs in this session. In the dynamic landscape of English language education for classes 11 and 12 in the CBSE curriculum, the cultivation of creative writing skills stands as a cornerstone. This vital component empowers students to unleash their imaginations, craft vivid narratives, and wield words like artists on a canvas. By honing these skills, students not only refine their written expression, but also embark on a transformative journey that fosters creativity, critical thinking, and a deep appreciation for the beauty of language. Furthermore, today's webinar will serve as a valuable resource for educators seeking to elevate their students' creative writing skills. Through the expert guidance of Madam Ruchi Sengar, we educators will gain insights into effective teaching methodologies, fostering an environment that encourages literary exploration and experimentation. I assure you that by the end of this webinar, we educators will gain tremendous insights and be better equipped to nurture the creative talents of our students, shaping them into confident and proficient writers who can masterfully navigate the intricate world of language and storytelling. So before we begin with today's interesting session, there are a few things I'd like to quickly brief you about. Switching on your device cameras is optional. However, any query in the midst of the session can be conveyed through the meeting chat box. In order to have an interactive experience, you may note down your queries and ask them at the end of the session. Our resource person will be happy to help you. Please click the raise hand button and wait for your name to be called out for asking your query. The participants will have the opportunity to receive the certificate only after filling up the certificate and feedback form, the link for which will be shared at the end of the session. Kindly stay connected till the end of the session. At this juncture, on behalf of all of us present in the webinar, I would like to thank Dr. Salam for empowering us with such enlightening sessions. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. Abdul Salam, who is the distinguished CBSE resource person and master trainer. Sir is the principal of Vibgyor High, Bangalore. He is also founder of BTAG, that is Bharat Transformers Academic Group, a consortium of educators and the teaching fraternity across the globe, connecting them together to empower the nation. Sir, it is indeed a pleasure to have your gracious presence, and I would like to request you to take over and deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Ms. Himani. Good evening, Ruchi ma'am, once again. It's an honor to see you again on this platform. Equally, we are delighted to see Himani ma'am back, one of the best moderators of BTAG. What is very impressive is this voice modulation Himani has. So that is to be, noted and appreciated. Thank you so much, Himani ma'am, for all your association with us. Whenever we approach you, you never say no.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir.
Thank you. And definitely, this is going to be very enriching because Ruchi Sengar ma'am is all set with all the weapons in order to, enlighten everyone. We have only a small request to everyone to make this, session very beneficial, very, utilize it fully by asking your doubts and all, because we have seen even after giving many sessions, we teachers keep, asking for doubts and all. So let it be a doubt clearing session after Ruchi ma'am's presentation. You can ask your doubts and clear it very carefully, and let's empower ourselves as English teachers. So all the very best, and thank you. Over to Himani. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. Ladies and gentlemen, now we shall proceed to the highlight of today's webinar. Today amidst us, we have very talented Madam Ruchi Sengar. Madam Sengar is a published author, a renowned educational consultant, materials writer, and a communication skilled professional with a certificate in English language teaching to adults, CELTA in short. She is materials reviewer for NCERT, a resource developer and master trainer. Her experience includes working at some of the leading schools of the country in various leadership capacities. She has been associated with CBSE as the content developer for the past several years and has authored and co-authored numerous teacher training modules. And expert in innovative pedagogical processes, she has been training educators under various regional centers of excellence across the country. Madam Sengar began training with Oxford University Press and currently conducts training for many prominent public publishing houses. Over and above, Madam Sengar considers herself a lifelong learner and believes strongly in professional development opportunities for educators. She has been conferred with numerous awards and accolades for holistic education and teaching beyond school. Ma'am, on behalf of everyone present, I wholeheartedly welcome you and request you to take over the proceedings for the evening.
Thank you, my love. Thank you very, very much. It's always a pleasure to see you across the screen. Hope to meet you very soon.
Feeling is
in
mutual,
person.
ma'am.
Right. Dr. Salam, thank you very much for inviting me once again. It's always great. The teachers are extremely well-read. They are precise with their questions. I just love coming here. Let me begin by sharing the screen. I've been told this is a 1-hour session, but I am happy to stay as long as all your queries are solved. I say that every time. So I'm going to begin my screen and we'll take it from there. So I'm assuming, Mani, I'm assuming the screen is visible. Yes? Okay, great. Right. So our session today says creative writing skills English core. Given the time of the year, my focus is going to be essentially class 12. You're more than welcome to note down your questions pertaining to class 11 and we can address them later. But today, these 55 minutes, 52 minutes rather, are going to be essentially about class 12. There is nothing that you don't already know. So what I'm going to attempt to do is just brush the dust off. You know, there are those little things, especially I've got a lot of messages from teachers saying, ma'am, invitations and replies. So I hope to simplify all of that today to clarify, because we are on the threshold of sort of pushing our kids into practice tests and pre-boards, etc. So there shouldn't be even an iota of doubt. So now there are two things. There is learning and then there is assessment. So I'm assuming that this session is tilted more towards assessment rather than learning, because it's going to be all about marks and how many marks can the child score, and whether if the child writes this, are the marks going to be cut, etc. So I'm going to do a combination of both today, learning and assessment, and we'll see how it goes. So it says creative writing skills. There was a time when it was called advanced writing skills. Now our writing section, section B, is called creative writing skills. It's unfortunate that we can't interact. I hope to meet you all in person someday when I travel down south or towards that end. So I'll, share the answer myself. So creative writing skills, because creation is at the top of the cognitive competency ladder. And also because when a child composes something, the child is using all competencies subsumed in creation. So when creativity or creative skills are at the top of the Bloom's ladder or the pyramid, okay, all other competencies are subsumed in creation. Therefore, it's an extremely important section called creative writing skills. So what we do, most of us, what we do in our classrooms is practice of the questions prescribed in the syllabus. We often tend to ignore skills. So we teach the product, often ignoring the process, which is why despite having cleared class 12 and having gained 98 marks or 99 marks in English, the child, if presented with another kind of writing, is unable to write confidently. So that is something that I would request all of you to bear in mind, to look at the components of all the writing products that have been prescribed and then, break them down and teach those components first before just going in for the practice of the product. It's very important. You will see the results. Okay, maybe we'll have another session in which we sort of deconstruct the products and talk about it. But right now, let's go ahead with what is mandated. So I'm going to use a bit of question answer kind of something to do this. Okay, so the first question, what's prescribed for 2023 24 in the creative writing section of English Core Class 12. So everybody has it on their tips. So let's have a look what it says. It says notice, formal, informal, invitation and reply, letters based on verbal, visual inputs, namely application for a job and letters to editor. And then you have article/report writing. That's quite something. Now, we are happy when we read this, we often forget to read what else is a part, right? We often forget to read what else is a part and hence the confusions, right? So I'm going to keep this on for another 10, 20 seconds so that you all can sort of refresh what you already know. Look at the word limits. Look at the marking. Look at the support, look at all other information that has been given in addition. Very nice. I would specifically like you to focus on what has been put in brackets. I think CBSE has been very coy about it when they have put things in brackets. Those are things that you need to focus on, and that sort of shows you the way. So it's 4 + 4 + 5 + 5 as opposed to what it was earlier. It's 18 marks. That's a solid 18 marks, difficult 18 marks to score for the children if they are not careful, right? Is there an overall choice or internal choice in this section? So obviously, I just had you read it. So there's going to be, all of these. And there is internal choice. There is 1 of 2 per question. And that is the bane of the English teacher while she is setting a practice paper. It is 1 of 2 of everything. So if she creates a question, she has to create another one. So there'll be 2 of question 3s, there'll be 2 of question 4s, and so on, right? There's going to be a choice. What are the prescribed competencies for the creative writing section B? So we know the competencies in the reading section. They've been explicitly listed. We know the competencies in the literature section. For each type of question, there are a set of competencies explicitly listed. Over here, the competencies come towards the end when the syllabus finishes, right? And they are these. Now have a look and then ask yourself, is what you're doing in the classroom with the children matching up to what competencies they are expected to imbibe? So if you're going to give them 10 practice questions and they're going to write and you're going to check and that is it, will that help them imbibe competencies? Not really. Because most of the questions out there aren't crafted the way they have been crafted in the 2 sets of papers that have been put across. I hope everybody knows the sample paper was out, and recently another paper for English Core has come out along with the MS. So in case you didn't know, you could visit the website and access it from there. So now conceptual understanding, which of course I'm sure you're already doing in the class. Application of rules, you're superb with that. I mean, we will have teacher wars over formats. It's like that. Analysis. What are they analyzing really? What analytical product are they presenting? In which product that is mandated out of the 4 are they using analysis? Remember, they are fresh out of class 10 where they've done analytical paragraph writing. They are doing case-based factual passage. All of that requires analysis and evaluation and a combination of all of that. If you are teaching it correctly to them instead of just making them practice with the right material, they'll be able to do this. Reasoning. Now they've given analysis and they've given reasoning. They are two different things. Appropriacy of style and tone. Style you do very well. Tone also, I think, we teach them. We say formal and so on. So we do teach them. Using appropriate format and fluency. Fluency, I don't think is taught actively in the classroom. It's not. Inference. Are you teaching them how to, use inference while crafting their answers or dissecting the question? Evaluation and creativity. Creativity, you're teaching them. It has been years when you have been getting questions in the paper where there are visual verbal cues, where the verbal cues are giving you the answer only. If you look at the sample paper, that is not the case. If you look at the practice paper, that is not the case. The cues are not the answers. The cues are going to ask questions or lead the child to think of what the answer is going to be when they are composing. Okay? So be careful. Don't give it all away. You have to be very careful of the materials you're using when you are giving practice. I don't want to say more. It's not right on my part because you're all experienced academics. Okay, now that I've flashed this, I'm sure your minds are already tick-tock thinking, and I'm sure you'll do the needful. Let's begin with notices. We'll go in the order of the way they've been prescribed. What might be the types of notices? So the types of notices would be school events, RWA announcements or information, organization or shops announcement, okay, and information. So it could be any. Okay, don't think that they cannot be of a commercial nature. Just because it's not there doesn't mean it cannot be, right? So just because there have been a set of questions that have been given in the sample paper doesn't mean that it is limited to just that. There are only 2 options. It's not a question bank, it's a sample paper, right? So you have to be careful, and you have to keep in mind that you expose your children to a variety of things. Never mind if you get a school event in the board exam. So what? So what? The child is going to be equipped anyway. The child is going to be confident. Let whatever come. My ma'am, my sir has taught me everything. Right? But if you're just going to limit to the formulaic, then there is always going to be that nagging doubt that what if? Right? So we need to be careful. What type of question ought to be created for notices as per the SQP? Now we come to the design, because we have to map our question to eliciting the competency that has been listed. If you're just going to say, oh, the roads in your neighborhood have a lot of potholes, write a letter to the editor, supposing. You write a question like this. It's ridiculous. Those times have passed. Now for notices, I'm sure everybody has the questions of the sample question paper on their tip. So I'm going to fall back on those and show you something. I just randomly changed that question a little bit. Jupiter Public School, Thrissur, Kerala wants to create a green space. As Rachel Tiwari, captain of the Eco Club, draft a notice for the notice board informing members about a meeting post school hours on Friday, 14 September for the same. Take your time, have a look at it. It looks good. The question's good. Now look at this one. Jupiter Public School, Thrissur, Kerala intends to create a dedicated, intends to, not wants to, intends to create a dedicated green space. Wants to means what will the Eco Club people do? Intends to, so they will do something about it. They will talk about it. Dedicated green space, an area for growing anti-pollution plants and shrubs. Now, what green space? Please share it in your question. Don't just leave the child in a limbo to write just about anything. Oh, the child will write anything, we will mark everything correct. That is how you access their competencies, not by making it a free for all. Write anything. This question will check whether the child has actually understood what they are supposed to do. As Rachel Tiwari draft a notice for the school notice for informing 11 to 12 members. Here, everybody from the Eco Club, here specifically, 11 to 12 club members about a think tank meeting. Post school hours on Friday, 14 September for the same. Inform members about availability of refreshments during the meeting. You've also thrown in the loop something extra for them to munch on while creating. This is an assessment you are creating. It is not a guidebook question that you're giving them for practice. Exam questions are like this. Sure, you could begin with something like this in class 6, in class 7, etc. But for God's sakes, they are moving out into the world. Right? So now, this is what the question focuses on. There's a context that has been given. There are details that are requested, and then there is an add-on. This is something that when the child attempts, you are truly eliciting and checking the child's competencies as prescribed in the curriculum, as prescribed. Right? Okay. What is the recommended format for notices? The marking scheme very clearly stated it, so I'm just going to put it out there. That's it. Now, there is often a question that whether details should be written in the DTV format, should it be written in a paragraph format? It depends on the question. If it's a simple school event kind of a question with, there's an agenda, there's a venue, there's some time, you can do a DTV. Otherwise, yes. I mean, if there is an RWA question which requires to make an announcement or inform them of something, the electricity, the power is going to be off, or we're doing a fire drill, or whatever it is, that would come in a paragraph, of course. You have to expose your children to everything. Just because it's noticed doesn't mean that, oh, the child will be able to attempt. Oh, the head examiner is going to say, oh, give marks, give marks. You have a duty to the children. We have a duty towards them. You're preparing them for the exam. Excellent, you should. That's a part of your brief. But there is a lot more that you need to do to prepare them for life outside, which is why competency-based, which is why the NEP, which is why the NCF. Right? Okay. So if you have any doubts or notices, you could note down. We would begin the questions with notices. So I'll be saying notices. If there are questions, Imani is going to read out or speak out, or you can even write in the chat box if you have any right now. And I'm sure she's noting. Okay, let's move forward. What is the recommended marks division for notices? 4 marks. So format 1, content 2, accuracy of spelling and grammar 1. Accuracy of spelling and grammar. So if there are more than 2 mistakes, you cut half. If there are more than 4, you give a 0. ideally in school. I don't know what happens when you're checking, but when you're prepping them, this is what you need to do. Even if they are, let's say, 6 mistakes, 7 mistakes of spellings, you can't cut more than 1. Or grammar. Usually mistakes in grammar come via tenses. So whatever it is, you can't cut more than 1. However, while you are preparing them in school, you need to tell them that if the error density is so high that it interferes with the communication of the message clearly, we will cut marks even from content. You're rationalizing it for them. They can't argue with you on this, because that's what content means. But if you're not able to understand the content because of the error density over here, you cut marks. Right? Okay. Invitations and replies, formal and informal. Okay. So what type of questions can be expected for invitations and replies as per syllabus and SQP? So types of invitations, formal, informal. You know, I took this from a particular book. I'll share what that book is. So formal, card and letter, invitation. Informal, only letter. This is invitation. Informal, only letter. Informal, the invitation could be card or letter. Be careful. I will deconstruct this for you today, because I don't know why there is such a big confusion around this. Types of replies to invitations. Formal also letter, informal also letter. I have no idea how this fever of a note type reply. What is a note type or a card type reply? I have never been able to understand. CBSE doesn't say there's anything like this. Where did it get picked up from? I'm sure you know the answer, where it got picked up from. So be careful what you're taking to your classrooms, right? I will rationalize this for you when I'm doing the replies. Okay. What is the type of formal, what are the, oh God, the grammar. What are the types of formal invitation questions? So when inviting many, you have the card type. When inviting many, clear, you already know this. I'm repeating again, card type when you're inviting many, letter type when you're inviting one. So it could be a chief guest or any other dignitary or any special guest you want to invite or whatever it is. So the distinction is many and one. Collective, singular. Collective, singular. Many, one. Card. C for collective, C for card. Simple. Marriage, official functions, ceremonies, etc. Now, how does it go? Card type. I've taken this from a particular book. I'll talk about it later. When inviting many, card type. Simple present tense to be used. For example, invites, requests, etc. Written in third person. You know all this. You know all this. You know all this. That's why I don't even want to, read it out aloud for you. I'd rather much rather show you, right? Usage of short forms and abbreviations are avoided unless until you want to use some specific words. RSVP is written if necessary, with the name and phone number, email of the host. No usage of signatures. I'm sure you already know this. If you've missed out on a point or two, there were several other points in the book that I'm talking about, but when you refer to such books, you can figure it out yourself. Look at this. I've just solved the question. That was there in the SQP. That's one way of doing it. I'm sure there would be a couple of other ways where, how this can be done. But the content is basically this. This is it. It doesn't have to be marriage all the time. It could be this. It could be a ceremony. It could be a function that you want people to come to. And it would be formal. All right. Now you have the letter type. 1. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay. Written in first or third person, I'll talk about it. Short forms and abbreviations are to be avoided. Invitee to be addressed as dear sir, ma'am, Mr., Ms., Mrs., if you know the designation. Request confirmation of the invitee availability, no signature for closing salutation. You already know this. No point. I just thought that it's important to just put it out there, right? Now, there is this big thing. Is it to be written in first person? Is it to be written third person, etc.? Have a look. First person. First person, perfectly fine. I mean, obviously we're not going to say, he's not going to say I, because he's inviting on behalf of the school. So we, okay. Yeah. That's one. Have a look at another one. Is this okay? I mean, are you clear? Now, if it has to be, Rakhi, you've raised your hand, write your question, note your question. We'll take it up later. So which is the other way in which this could be done? So you could simply say, the academy is delighted to inform you that it is organizing. So third, you could do that as well. Okay. Look at the next one. What are the type of reply questions like? Okay. No confusions here. When you reply, it is one-to-one only. There is no card type. There is no note type. There is no any other type. There's only letter. Formal also letter, informal also letter. Formal also letter, informal also letter. Simple, no confusion. Have a look. Do you see this? I. Now have a look at this. Things have changed. Both are correct. Unless until specified in the question that you are responding on behalf of. Otherwise, the child is free to use either way of formally replying. Either will work. That's why I put it down. Okay, right? Moving on. Informal reply letter. This is from the SQP. I don't know whether I've written 23, 24, but I'm not sure. It's been a while since I created that paper, so I'm not sure whether it's this year, last year, whatever. So anyway, the question is what matters. Leelavati Khatri, your grandmother. Now, your grandmother has received an invitation from a childhood friend, blah, blah, blah. The invite is for the blessing ceremony and celebratory dinner marking the birth of her granddaughter. So, friend's granddaughter. Your grandmother wishes to attend the event but would need to be accompanied by a family member to assist her with a wheelchair. Help your grandmother create an appropriate reply for accepting this invitation. So you're helping your grandmother create the reply. Doesn't mean that you are going to sign as the person who's written the letter. Okay? Look. What is that one thing, one significant thing that changes this from a formal kind of a writing or a semi-formal writing to an informal? It is this. It is this. It is this. But everything has been addressed. Just because it's informal doesn't mean the child is free to say, yo, I'm chill that you invited me. That is not what it is. It is still an exam. It's still academic writing. Okay? It's still etiquettes that you reply, minding what you're writing when you are accepting or rejecting or someone's invitation. So that needs to be taken care of. Okay. What is the recommended marks division? Same as notices, same things apply. Okay. Formal letters. So what are the prescribed types? We saw that in the beginning. Job application, letter to the editor. There were a couple of things that were written. It says with biodata or resume. There is no mention of a CV. So I don't understand. In the syllabus, there is no mention of a CV. So why are we, giving them questions that has CV written, or why are we, sure, you can tell the children that curriculum vitae is one thing, but it's a curriculum vitae. Look, take your time, please. Now you will understand why CBSE has said biodata or resume. I've taken this definition from LinkedIn. Nothing could be more professional than that in the current times. Look at this. This is a shorter CV. And this is what LinkedIn says. It is commonly used in countries like India. Fancy sounding names aren't supposed to make that particular product appropriate for what is being prescribed. Right? So we need to just figure things out. Okay? So with biodata or resume, that is what the syllabus says. And for letter to the editor, it very clearly says that the focus is on giving suggestions or opinions on issues of public interest. It is not about, I read your paper, I like it very much, you have an esteemed paper, this, that, whatever. Get to the point. This is what they want. So your question should be framed in such a manner. You should be exposing children to questions that elicit this and are focused on this, or issues of public interest. Do we tell our children what issues of public interest are? And how is an issue different from a problem or similar to a problem? And if it is an issue oblique a problem, that is what the suggestions are focusing on. Potholes, loudspeakers. This is the 21st century. This is a pandemic era, so much has happened. You have like a foreigner introducing the session, like, so be careful. Be careful of the materials you're exposing your children to. All right? For how long are they going to hide behind the standard line? Oh, board questions are very simple. One fine day, something's going to happen, and then we are going to be like, falling to pieces as to why we didn't do it in the classroom. Okay. Job application. This was there in the SQP, I think last year, this year, I'm not sure. This is it. So it says verbal/visual cues. Okay. No, it doesn't. Or does it? I'm not sure. So you can't do a job application without giving them some reference. It could be in a form of an advertisement. It could even be like a small advertisement. It could be like a picture cue. It has to be something, because it says you saw the given advertisement. There has to be some context for the child to lift off from. Don't forget the competencies you're testing. Okay? 120, 150 words, biodata expressing your interest in the advertised post. So you're a fresh graduate. Fresh graduate. So now if the person is a fresh graduate, and what if the person had been with an experience of 20 years? Then again, the writing would have changed. The column for qualifications would have really changed. Okay, for example, look at this one. You know it. There could be a couple of components that you wish you want to add, please, if you're teaching that to the child. This is not set in stone. But we have questions like, ma'am, shouldn't the skills or the achievements be in a form of a table? Put in a form of table. There are no marks for table or no table. The marks are for this requires a table because it usually looks at a progression. Ma'am, shouldn't we begin with the most recent? Begin with the most recent. Or begin with the one that was the earliest. Nobody's going to cut marks. Because the biodata or the CV or the resume created for the real world is very different from this. This is not what is created for the real world. That is not what we are teaching our children yet. This is the exam purposes, and this is what we are teaching. It will get upgraded soon, I'm sure. Instead of a letter, you'd probably have an email soon. Instead of an article, you'll have a blog post soon. You never know. So for now, it's this. There was a time we had telegram, postcard. We don't have them now. Right? But for academic purposes, it's around these lines. Do we need to write declaration? You may not. It's optional. Why did I write it here? Because it's better to write it and show than to say, oh, you could also write declaration and leave you wondering why. Of course, this is accompanied by a cover letter. I didn't think it important enough to show the cover letter because you're already aware of what a cover letter is. You know your formal letters. This usually has issues. What is it that we are doing? Should we write marital status? Right? Nobody is saying don't write. Right. It's a biodata. Personal information has to come. Okay. So this is what it is. Please note, it's not important to all the time write 90%, 90%, 90%. We need to sort of, be inclusive about these things when we are doing examples, etc. When you're looking at your reference materials, etc. You'll get to know what kind of a question maker it is if they have not been sensitive to things like that. Besides, this question talks about skills. It's filming. It doesn't have a very strong academic profile. That is the inference that CBSE is talking about. Have you understood the question? Have you inferred what is required from the job application? It's a skill. All our children will be doing it in a couple of years. Right? So this is what it is. Let's have a look. Letter to the editor. This was there in the exam paper. I have sort of dissected so that you understand. Context. Context. This is happening. So, letter to the formal letters have visual / verbal cues, and the last question just has verbal cues. Okay. So, I used one visual. I'm showing you one verbal cue. Context is extremely important. Imagine beginning a question saying you are Soma Barua. Write a letter to the editor of a national daily. This. Why would you do that? Okay. Most reference books that I have seen, most, not all, most, don't usually take care of the context. There is a school of thought that says, ma'am, but this increases reading time. Yeah, that is why you have things like reading challenges. That is why you are supposed to train them to speed read. That is why you're supposed to train your children to increase their eye span. Good readers, and one of my favorites, Swami Vivekanand, used to read like this. Like this. So the whole line is within the eye. Because we don't do skills, because we just do reading section practice, and we don't do skills, our children read 2 words, 2 words, 2 words, 2 words, and it takes them ages. But then that's a different session altogether. So these kind of questions, please look. You don't have answers as cues. You're just given some snippets. It very clearly says, use given excerpts from news reports. So you've told the children that it's an issue important enough to have been there in the news as well. Is the child able to infer all of this when reading the question? Format. Yo, dude, time to soar, shine, and laugh. Yes, truly. So, your address, date, their address, subject, salutation, or salutation subject, letter. Closure, yours truly for the editor. Otherwise, formal letters, we are promoting yours sincerely. Although, once again, I'm repeating myself. The rule is, if you know the person, you write sincerely. If you don't know the person, you write faithfully. That is Queen's English. However, or now the King's English, whatever you want to call it, Brit English. So now, because we don't do faithfully, we are not a colonial nation anymore. We don't do faithfully anymore. So we have taken the American version of it, which is truly. However, in professional circles, sincerely is preferred. So in other formal letters, whether it's class 10 or whether it's a job application, we say yours sincerely. For format, do something like this. There is another one in Hindi that I do with people and groups of teachers in this region. I don't want to get into it. This should work. You could create something similar in your local language. It will help. Should it be subject first or salutation first? It's interchangeable as per the checking standards, but I don't think you start you start speaking about your problems without at least greeting someone. So I would root in favor of salutation first, but then it's interchangeable. Okay. What is the recommended marks division? Marks division is over here. There's an addition, organization of ideas. Organization of ideas. This is coherence and cohesion. So if your child is just going on about the same point, unable to make a topic sentence and provide supporting sentences, you don't give marks while you are training them in school. Okay, so coherence and cohesion is another thing altogether. If you need to train your children in that, then it is going to help them even in their long questions, even when they are writing other things for other subjects. But I guess that's a different session altogether. Okay. Last one, article and report writing. What types of articles and report are prescribed as per syllabus? Well, you have article writing for the school magazine and you have report writing for the magazine and or the newspaper. The syllabus says this question is supposed to elicit descriptive or analytical in nature response. A response that is descriptive or analytical in nature. It's there in your syllabus. I'm not making it up. It's there. I told you, read what's there in the bracket. Analytical in nature and descriptive in nature. Obviously, descriptive is not going to be report writing because it's factual. So it's going to be analytical. Article could be either descriptive or analytical. Now, for ages, there has been a question. Every time, every workshop I do, whether online or in person, standard question for article. I'll show you. First, let's look at the format of the article. This has been given in the marking scheme, so I've taken exactly that. But you already know this. Instead of XYZ guidebook, please look at the material CBSE has put up. CBSE has put this up in the marking scheme for this year. Please go with it. There's no doubt, no? Okay? It's there in the marking scheme, so no worries. Why is it development of 1 to 2 paragraphs? Because it's just 150 words. It's just 150 words. For now, in class 12, in our country, there's no negative marking of having exceeded word limit. Imagine in high stakes exams when that starts happening. Why? Because there is more skill in being lucid, in being brevity, in being able to write so much in so little. That is skill. Just going on saying and because therefore and going on and on and on. I filled 3 sheets. That's not the criteria. It could just be one content point. So you need to tell all this to your children. Okay, standard question. Should the article be written in first person, second person, or third person? Okay. I'm going to keep quiet for 30 seconds. I thought it's about time I just put it out there. So it depends on your question, really. So this one is out. We will not go with the second person. Okay, we won't be going with the second person. So it's either the first person or the third person, but further, okay, here. So it's best in academic situations to go with third person. There's nothing wrong in the first person writing. It depends on the question. If the question wants the child's opinion, because it does say descriptive, then you use. But so far, the questions I have seen elicit a third person, which is fine. Is it wrong if the child writes in the first person? No, it's not wrong, provided the question allows it. Okay, so what does it say here? See? An article about about experiences as an avid traveler. Then how can the person not write I? Okay, so far there is consensus on third person. So we'll go with third person. What is the prescribed format? It's given in the marking scheme. It's not, I'm not showing you something new. It's given in the marking scheme. It's all given in the marking scheme. School magazine report, newspaper report. Look at the question. The cue is the same. Just same question I've changed. There was a lot of confusion with the word newsletter. Magazine newsletters are all periodicals. So it's like a magazine format for newsletter. Okay. Marks, same. All right. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I've covered it all for class 12. There is something, and I'm very grateful to Dr. Salam for supporting me on this, or should I say granting permission. I'd like to show you something that I've put together. People who are connected with me over phone already know it, and they probably own a copy right now. It's this. Here it is. Okay, and this is what it looks like. All right. And I think it's an appropriate time to show you, I don't know whether this is visible or not, to show you the index page. Okay. Is it listed on any commercial platform? No, not yet. It's going to take another couple of weeks, but it's going to be up there. Till then, if you feel that this is what you want to use, recommend to your students, stock in your libraries, because that's what I've been told, and that's the number I'm sending to people. This is what the schools are saying. We want it for our library, we want it for our students, we want it for ourselves, that all kinds. So if somebody from the ones who've attended today is interested, I'm sharing this in the chat box, and then we are open for questions. This is the order form. It will come directly to me, and here it is. Imani, if you can see this in the chat box, could you just give it a click and tell me whether it's opening?
Yes, ma'am. It is.
It's opening. Great. That's
Perfect.
it. Let's begin now with the questions, and I hope I am able
Ruchi
to
ma'am,
answer. Questions always scare me.
excuse me, Ruchi ma'am, that is actually that has posted as a picture, I think.
There is
Imagine
also a picture in the form.
it opens as a picture.
It opens as a picture.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, let's take the questions. In the meantime, I'll check what the
Correct.
problem is.
Correct.
Yeah.
correct.
First of all, thank you, ma'am, for such an enlightening session. I'm sure our participants are eager to ask their queries. Dear
Yes.
participants, you may raise your hands virtually and we'll call out your name one by one and you may ask your query. Kindly virtually raise your hand. We have our first participant. Mr. Bobby,
Hmm.
could you please unmute? Yeah.
Hi,
Yeah,
this
sir.
is Bobby
Hello.
Ramachandran from Dubai.
Okay. Yes, your question, please.
Yes, this is regarding the cover letter for a job application. It should
Mhm.
have 1 paragraph, 3 paragraphs. What is the number? And what should be given priority?
I'm not really sure I understand what should be given priority,
Because
but
we were in
paragraph.
a heated debate that the highest qualification should appear first in the second paragraph. Is that so? I'm just confused
A
about that.
cover letter would just have a mere mention of the suitability of the candidature. You know? So, yeah. So it's like this is the place where I, came across this thing and I'm keen to apply and I feel I'm suitable. And this is it, an enclosure, my biodata, and that's just about it.
Okay. Just the reference of the ad and then your suitability.
Yeah.
And what is
Yeah.
your enclosure? That's it.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Right. Okay.
Up next, we have Ms. Shefali Katuria. Could you please unmute yourself?
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening,
Hello,
Ruchi, ma'am.
darling.
Yeah, it's always a delight to hear from you, ma'am. You're really knowledgeable and keep on enlightening us. May you be blessed with the best and may you stay blissful.
Oh, thank
So-
you. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's
so
going to
my
be a
question-
difficult question. I'm very sure it's going to be a very difficult question.
It's a pretty easy question, ma'am. I actually have tons of questions, but I choose this question because nowadays I'm facing this issue in my class. Like, I am taking 11th, 12th in Delhi Public School, ma'am. And in my school, what I see with class 11 and 12, they are writing long answers. Their language skills are highly refined. So they're able to express that out on paper also. But majorly what I see is they're just rambling over the same textual evidence or same idea again and again. So if I, from my end, want to advocate the skill of writing a brilliant long answer, ma'am, what do you suggest? How should I go ahead in the classroom? Like, I see teachers teaching article writing. I see teachers teaching everything in detail. If I want to give practice for a week of long answers, how can I incorporate that, ma'am? What do you think is the best idea? Any tips and tricks?
Yeah. So I don't know about the tricks. I don't subscribe to them, but tips definitely. So, or rather, should I say strategies? Am I understanding you right when you're saying, extended writing, you mean long answers for literature, or are you referring only to the writing section because the pedagogy would differ? Are you talking about the writing section long products, or are you talking about literature? You need to unmute to reply. I'm not sure. Can you unmute or do you want to type it in? So let me just take both. So if you're wanting them to do long writing and you want to train them how to write skillfully for the writing section, I think it's a great idea to do so via following Coder. Please bear in mind that you're at the end of the day prepping them for an exam. So no matter how much encouragement you want to give them for creative writing, like stories, etc., you can't train them as rigorously as you would for an exam product. So a partially solved example is a good idea. You give them a partially solved example, they fill it in. I used to use templates So
Okay.
where I used to say, supposing it was speech writing, I used to say, good morning, etc., etc. And then instead of saying good morning, I used to say greet. And then, so there's a list of questions that you begin with a greeting. Number 2, write why you are wanting to. Number 3, what do you think of the topic? Number 4, expand on the topic. Number 5, this. And then, there are some sentence prompts given. So that helps. And that even helps in literature. When you start giving them partially solved responses, when you give them questions, the moment they start answering each question, each sentence starts getting built. So
Yeah,
then when they are
precisely, ma'am.
writing,
Sorry to intervene. Precisely, my focus is on literature only because what I see majorly students are just summarizing the entire prose, and that's what we are not asking them to do.
the reason they are doing that is because it's not being taught in a competency-based pedagogical manner. All they know
Absolutely.
is summary. Summary is lower order thinking skill. That is why they summarize. Because they are given to believe that no matter what we write, we should not leave the sheet blank. At least write something.
True,
You will
true,
get
true.
marks, right? So if you want them to rationalize or justify, etc., then you need to teach them what is inference, what is interpretation, what is analysis, how do you critically analyze, how do you write a character sketch. So there are templates, there are sentence prompts. That is not done in schools. So you
Ma'am, when
need to
I
get
go into the connotative meaning, when I explain the metaphorical meanings in the class, I really doubt because all the summary books that I see barely explain all those concepts. Like if we take the poetry laburnum top, there is this line, machine starts up, or the engine of the family, which is directly referring to industrial revolution. So I rarely
No,
see
it's
people
not. It's
explaining
not
that.
directly referring. It's not directly referring.
It's
It's not directly referring. So, like you said, it's there metaphorically, right? There's no
right.
direct. Yeah. So, yes. So you're saying that they don't get it. They don't get it because you're explaining. As long as the teacher keeps explaining, they will not get it. Because all you're doing is transferring your learning. You're not giving them learning opportunities. So you need to elicit that via questions or nudges or worksheets or strategies that are going to get them to think independently. Only then they will reach that conclusion. Otherwise, they are just memorizing, aren't they? How will that stay?
True. Absolutely.
That's it.
Thank you so much,
If
ma'am.
you want to look up some, since you're an eager viewer, and
Right.
if you really want some support about strategies, etc., please visit my website, www.ruchisengar.in. You'll find a lot of things there that will cater to your palate, I'm sure.
Absolutely,
Yes.
ma'am. Thanks a ton.
You're very welcome. Yes.
Thank you. Ma'am,
Next
up
one.
next, we have Ms. Jyoti K. Could you please unmute yourself?
Good evening, ma'am.
Hi, Jyoti.
Hi. Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, I just want to clarify one or two doubts. Like when the children are writing the year in writing section, they usually ask that whether they should write 20XX or 2023. Like
They will
that
be,
is one
they,
confusion.
tell them to write 2024. That's where they are taking their exam. So
Yeah.
it's okay.
Writing
Unless
exactly.
until the question has something else in it that
Yeah. Okay,
requires
fine.
the child to copy that or follow that or look at that structure. If the child writes XX, nobody is cutting marks for it.
Yeah, sure. So, but they are a little bit confused. Means many reference book have different presentations, so they have that problem.
Don't quote reference books in front of me. I have really a big chip on my shoulder.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
The best kind of reference will come from the teacher.
Yeah,
You are
that's
the
true.
boss. You are the boss. You decide for them. You will not be wrong.
Yeah. Okay, ma'am. And one more confusion that usually the children have the habit when they start writing this writing section, they get diverted, and they are having little time management problem. They usually say that, ma'am, when it is coming to the last part of writing section, we are not able to produce that much creative things because of lack of time. So many children have this problem. Every year I am
Yes.
getting the same thing. So usually I'm
Yes.
making them to write a practice like 3 hours in that manner. But still, when it
Yes.
comes for board exam, so
Yes.
any simple kind of remedies there for that, ma'am?
Yes, of course there is. Like I said, you need to get them. See, now since we are talking about exams and we
Yeah.
have a set syllabus, we need to be formulaic about it, right? It is what it
Okay.
is. They need to finish the paper in that number of minutes or hours and with maybe 15 minutes to spare, you know.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that will happen if A, they follow the word limit all through, right? That will
Okay.
happen. How to make them follow the word limit? You need to start training them for the writing section. Please start giving them partially solved questions. Partially solved. Give them a model, then give them a partially solved. If you go with guidebooks, all guidebooks out there cross the word limit. There are very few that have the guts to say that our answer is within the word limit.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. That's true.
And because children are referring to those, this is what they are doing. They are creating because they feel, oh, like a 80-word paragraph, 3 paragraphs of 80 words, and the introduction and the conclusion. How is that fair? That is why mistakes are happening. CBSE clearly says, please, 150, 200, 120, class 9, 10 is 100 to 120. 100 to 120. And class 11, 12 is a little more than that.
Yes.
So, you know, at best they can touch about 170, I understand, you know, here, there, everywhere. But then very clear, the purpose has to be the article. Each paragraph has a distinction. So when basically what I used to do is, and I've communicated that to a lot of my colleagues connected with me over the phone, that it's very simple. Don't make them write the whole thing at all. Say today we are just going to write the introduction. That's it. Just the introduction. Today we are going to write a paragraph on the suggestions for this question. Or even if you want to do it in the same period, please do it separately. Do not tell them to write all together. They'll go all over the place. As a teacher, you also need to be giving them, because there are marks for organization and fluency, you need to also be giving them the linkers. I want you to use therefore, in addition to, consequently, finally, these 5 I want you to use. Now see where you will use. Are we doing that? We are not doing that. That is why they are scattered. But we'll have a session soon, you know, on how to address this. You know, before the exam, sometime we'll have a session like this. But you could apply this now on. You could apply it next year. You could, you know, it works. There are several other things, but you know, it's difficult to, without showing, it's very difficult to just talk about it. Yeah. I hope, Jyoti, that this has helped one little bit at least. So, yeah.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. See you soon, ma'am. Bye.
Bye. And anybody here, you're very welcome to reach out to me over email. You could easily drop me a mail and I will reply. What's the mail? ruchisengar.our abode. ruchisengar.our at gmail.com. I would request Himani to put it down in the chat box once she's done. You can reach out, please. I mean, we are there for each other. We are there for each other. We have to stand by each other. Yes.
Ma'am, up next, we have Ms. Chitra. Could you please unmute yourself?
Ruchi ma'am, I'm Chitra here from Chennai. Hello.
Hello,
Nice
Chitra.
to, nice to be in your session. Waiting for the next one on September 24th. Yeah. Ma'am, I wanted to ask you about notice. Does the word notice come on top or the name of the organization? Because there was a confusion. There was a new format that was released last year.
No. It's very clear it's the name of the organization on top. It's very clear.
That's the one that we have been using. But last year, there was a change.
Last year, it was just a listing.
Okay.
That listing did not say that this is the order.
Okay.
It was just a listing, no comma. So,
Fine.
So that is why this time the visual was put.
Okay, ma'am.
To prevent any kind of confusion. Yes.
Oh, yes,
All
that's
right.
one more thing. One more thing in the formal letter writing, when we write the date, do we write the date in expanded form or just 13/9/2023?
Oh, the expanded form would be 13 of September 2024. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would work. Ideally,
Anyway.
it's usually not expanded. Not expanded. But
Okay.
if you have to tell me that a child has written 24th of September 2024 and I will cut marks, certainly not.
No. Okay. Yeah. No,
What
I
they
thought that is the only format. That is what is recommended. I wanted to know if that is the recommended.
The non-expanded form.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I thank the organizers for this session.
Ma'am, up next, we have Ms. Rakhi. Could you please
Oh,
unmute
hey,
yourself?
Rakhi, how are you? Okay.
Good evening, ma'am. Pranam. And first of all, I would like to thank all my co-participants, those who have asked wonderful questions, because that has clarified so many questions of mine also. But I just am referring to page number 60 of your book, ma'am.
Oh my God.
Page number.
Have you found a mistake?
No, not a mistake, ma'am. It's just a clarification. You had also referred in one of your slides. It's regarding the invitation letter, letter of invitation. And when we write the name and address of the receiver, so it's just written the address. Is it okay if we just write the address, or we should write like the principal, or if we are inviting somebody who is whose residential address is given, so is it okay if we just write the address, or name has to be there?
No, the designation has to be there if the designation is there. For example, the example that you're referring to is just a national level swimmer.
Right.
Had it been a secretary or had it been a director, we would have written, of course.
Okay, but name is given in the question. Name is given in the question, Mr. Parikshit Cherian.
Yes.
Right? So, do we
we will not write the name.
Fine.
We will not write the name. Yes.
Okay, right.
Yes.
And that thing that you have clarified regarding the card form, this note form. Yes, it is a big confusion, because in most of the, I would not use reference book because we don't like using it.
Most of the materials, let's say.
Most of the materials. We have seen that it is given, and now we'll follow the one which you have told us, that for every reply, we will be going for letter.
It is a letter. The logic is, thank you, Rakhi. It is a letter, because when you're writing to one person, you will write a letter only, no? What are you going to do with the card? You will put it in an envelope, you will write the address, and then you will send it to them. What is that? Where did that come from? I am not sure. It certainly did not come from the CBSE desk, I can tell you that. So, thank you for bringing it up again. We need to be, wary of adding things. It's like taking all kinds of literary devices and confusing our children. I mean, anaphora, assonance, consonance. I mean, the LOs don't mention any of these. You know what kind of materials mention all of this. So it's like FOMO. It's a fear of missing out. Oh, if I don't teach this to my kid, then what's going to happen? No. Why? Expose them to quality reference material. And you are the quality with a capital Q. You all. That's where the power is. So it should come from you, really. Okay? Yeah. Thank you, Raki. Yes. Himani?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Up next, we have Miss Tina. Could you please unmute yourself? Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. This is Tina here.
Hello, Tina.
Ma'am, I don't know if this is an out of a context question totally, but just
Nothing
want to
is.
know. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Just want to know if we can use sir or ma'am together in a letter to the editor. I'm asking you this because I want to promote gender neutrality and inclusivity, but I haven't seen it used anywhere. So is it wrong if children write sir or ma'am together in the letter to the editor?
First of all, Tina, I love your voice.
Thank you.
It has an amazing quality to it. Please connect with me over my email. I would like to use you for recording purposes. Please.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Now, to answer your question, when we use sir and madam together, there's an oblique that is put.
Correct,
right?
yes.
Sir oblique madam. Now, even the questions that CBSE was doing earlier were, you are Sita oblique Sohail, etc. So now the point is, what is wrong in all students being Sohail? The girl can think of herself. It's creation, right?
Yes.
You are imagining. Now, there is freedom for them to address the editor. When I write a letter to the editor, as an example in the classroom, I always write madam.
Okay.
The reason I write madam is there has been enough of sirs happening for years now.
Correct. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, keeping that in mind, we leave it to the child to write sir or madam. But in the exam, should the child choose to say, I don't know the editor,
the gender of the person.
So therefore, I will write sir oblique madam. It's not wrong.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Thank you so much, ma'am. Yes,
You're
ma'am.
welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Up next, we have Ms. Chandrani. Could you please unmute yourself? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good evening, ma'am. Thank you very much. Hello, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for your illuminating talk. It has certainly clarified many doubts, but I still have a small doubt because of some confusion. Like in the letter to the editor, after yours truly, when we sign our name, we usually write the full name, meaning the name and the surname. Is it also mandatory to put a signature or write the name in block letters?
No, there is nothing mandatory.
Yes.
Okay. As far as the examination key is concerned.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
Yes.
If the child doesn't sign but has written the name, has not written the name in block letters, has written in running hand, marks will not be cut. Right.
Yes.
However, what do we want to teach the children? This is what we want to teach the children. There are two different things, right? We will teach them this, but should they forget to do it in the exam, will their marks be cut? No.
Okay, so we are going to teach them to write, first sign, then write in block letters. Is that it? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And about we even go so far as to say a concerned citizen. Remember, because the syllabus says issues of public interest. So a worried citizen, a concerned citizen, that's also something they can write below.
After the name.
After the name, yes.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. Another
You're
small
welcome.
point. It's about
Yes.
the comma. It seems the rule keeps changing. Like within a sentence, I mean, within the address, like supposing it's Rose Apartments, comma, New Delhi. That's, but nowadays we do not put the comma after the, is that correct? Okay.
So on the outer side, we don't put a comma, but obviously inside we will put.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you
Because
so
it's
much.
a block, right? That's why.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's been very helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Just a quick heads up for our participants. The certificate and link for the feedback form has been posted. And I have also posted Ma'am Sengar's email ID. You may scroll up and you'll find it there. Miss Nidhi, could you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, thank you. Hello, ma'am. How are you?
Hi, Nidhi.
I hope you remember Nidhi Sood.
Of course, that voice is unmistakable.
ठीक है. Okay. Now I just need to ask. I actually missed out a bit of your session in the beginning. So if it is already discussed, I don't know. But as far as the reply part is concerned, ma'am, my confusion is that whether to write it in the first person or third person, are both correct? Or is it that because recently last year, a couple of old school thoughts, they said that third person is the only way to write, but it seems CBSE said both are acceptable. So
Yes, I'll answer your question very quickly. I did address it, but it's okay to talk about it very quickly again. So now, if someone is replying on their own, it's okay if they want to use the first person. Supposing I don't have an assistant, supposing I don't have a PA, supposing I don't have a secretary, supposing I don't have a team, I'm not a celebrity, I'm a simple person being called because I'm known for taking care of kids' mathematical issues in the neighborhood, and hence the school is calling me. I can use I, that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
However, should I want to use third person, I can use third person as well. Even that is correct. But if the question, just a second, but if, hold the thought, okay? But if the question specifically says, reply on behalf of so-and-so, then there is no question of the first person.
Okay. Okay.
Now ask, there was something you were asking.
Yes, ma'am. Like when we are writing now the reply in the third person, the format remains the format of the formal letter only? Or do we just write that one note of third person's reply?
No, it's not a card. It's still a letter.
It's a proper address, and then there will be a yours sincerely as well?
Yes, but then obviously you sort of, say office of so-and-so if you're doing the third person, or, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. And does same go for invitation also, ma'am, in the formal letter of invitation? Is it first person or third person again?
I think I showed a slide. I'll share it with you. I'll share it with you. Don't worry. You're on my phone, aren't you? I'll share it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Perfect. Don't worry. Yes.
And just a side note, this meeting will also be uploaded on the official channel of CBSE Bharat Sahodaya. So anybody who's missed out something, they can catch it up later. Ma'am, up next, we have Mr. Hanumant Deshmukh. Could you please unmute yourself?
Hello.
Hello.
It's a very nice to listen to entire talk, and it's creative writing skill which had got creativeness in us as well to certain extent wherever we thought it is doubtful. My question is when it is asked for the letter to the editor, there are two mentions generally, to a local daily and to a national daily or national newspaper. Are the students supposed to write the names of the newspaper, or just to write a national daily?
Name of the newspaper, Hanumant? They have to write a name of a newspaper. It may be a paper that they are aware of in the real world. It could also be a fictitious creation that they have created.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. But it has to be the name of the paper.
They cannot,
so and so.
they cannot write a national newspaper.
No.
That's what I am resonating with.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ma'am, we have up next educator Reno Rachel Joy. Could you please unmute? Yeah.
Good evening, Ruchi ma'am.
Hello. Why do you have to be here to ask me a question? You can give me a call. You're on my phone. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Ruchi ma'am, first of all, excellent session again. Almost a fangirl, no? A fangirl moment for me to see and hear you. Straight away to my question, just a clarification required. When I saw your resume, your biodata, there is this declaration as well as the place and date. So is it necessary to write that in the resume?
No, Reno. Like I said, some people write it. It is not wrong, but it is not mandatory. Okay, it is not mandatory. It is optional. But I put it there because for the people who have been writing it and teaching it to their kids in the classroom, they shouldn't feel that, oh, this is an element that we teach and it's not being shown. So it is completely optional. But if it is to be written, it's to be written like the way I showed it. Yeah. And that's what I've put in the book as well. Okay, I think she's on mute. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Up next, we have Ms. Payal Narula. Could you unmute yourself, please?
Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening, ma'am.
Hello, Payal.
How are you, ma'am?
Well, I'm as good as I look. So
that's brilliant, ma'am. And thanks a lot for this wonderful session. I have a question, though it is not regarding grade 12 writing skills because I'm not taking grade 12 so far.
Okay.
But I do have a question for the format of diary entry.
Yeah.
So we usually write date, time. Is it necessary to write place as well?
The format is, we begin from the left, day, date, year in full. Day, date, year in full. Right?
Okay.
So full, and then you leave space. This is from the left. And then from the right, it is the time, or below the day, date, year is the time.
Okay, ma'am.
I am not sure about a place. Why would a place be written? I have not seen that format.
Maybe it's an old format that I came across because I had seen somebody writing place as well, because I believe that, considering that it is important where you're writing the diary from, probably just to keep it as a keepsake, when you wrote it, where were you at the time?
So Payal, in the real world, it's your diary. You may do anything you want. Like, that's what we tell our kids. You can even stick things, you can journal if you want, etc. But academically, although I would be inclined towards writing the place, I have not seen it. We are the CBSE desk. The really nice place to check for formats is English Communicative main course book of class 9 and 10.
Sure, ma'am.
And that doesn't show the place. So I'm just coming from there. Personally, I would write the place. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I would even write in the kitchen at home. I would even write that.
Yes, thoughts come at the weirdest of the places at times.
Yes.
However, ma'am, if a child writes the place, do we strike it off, or we just mention it that it is not required or something like that? Or it's acceptable?
I think it would be extremely cruel to strike it off. You do not strike it off. So you would say that's a lovely thing to write the place, but for the exam point of view, maybe you could include the mention of a place in the sentence.
Definitely,
please don't strike it off.
I won't. I would never do that, ma'am. Never. Because I myself would have written the date if, given a question like that. Anyway, ma'am, one more thing. As you told me that date and year will come in full on the left side. So the time will come on the right after leaving space, or it can come underneath it. Is that all okay?
Yes, it's all okay.
All right, ma'am. Thank you so much, so much.
Welcome.
Dear participants, I reiterate, the link for the certificate and feedback form is posted on the chat. You may access it from there. Ma'am, we have our next participant, Manik Mekalai. Could you please unmute yourself?
Yes.
Why
Good
are
evening,
we
ma'am.
talking over here? You're on my phone, Mani.
Okay, ma'am. Just this thing. Recently, I've started observing people writing the year for newspaper format, newspaper report. They
No, it's
started
not written.
including year when it is strictly not at all there.
It's
right?
not. It's a newspaper.
Just a
It's a
mistake, right?
daily.
Ma'am, yeah.
It's
yeah,
a daily.
I
It's a daily. You don't need a year.
agree. Oh, that's it, ma'am. Nice to see your book. I received your book.
Good. Hey, lovely.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am, up next we have Ms. Sangeeta Khattar. Could you unmute yourself?
Where did she go? Sangeeta?
I'll again give her
She
a
get
request.
logged out?
No, ma'am, she's there. Ms. Sangeeta?
Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, I wasn't. Hi, how are you, ma'am?
I'm good. Thank you very much for asking.
Ma'am, my question is just now while answering Mr. Hanuman's question, you said that the is to be written before the name of the newspaper. Are we? Because I think we're not using the before the name of the newspaper.
How do we write it then? Do we?
Just the Hindustan Times or Times of India.
It's well, we write the. It's the
Right.
Hindustan Times. It's the Hindu. It's the Times of India. It's the Deccan Chronicle. It's the Tribune.
Okay.
The Indian Express.
Okay.
Right.
We're not using the before the name of the newspapers. That is why I wanted to clarify.
Gurvati, you can tell them to start using now.
Sure, ma'am.
No time like the present.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Dear participants, do we have any more queries? You may virtually raise your hand. I will unmute you and you may ask your queries. I think
they have completed all the
Yeah.
questions.
after such an interactive Q&A and exhaustive session and ma'am's patience, I think, sir, with your permission, should I proceed with vote of thanks?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I would like to extend our gratefulness and appreciation to Madam Ruchi Sengar for broadening our horizons and regaling us with boundless discourse.
Thank you.
I'm sure we will apply these tenets in our teaching modus operandi and ensure that our young learners reap maximum benefit out of it. Dear participants, kindly note the link for certificate and feedback form has been already posted. You're requested to fill up the form with all the necessary details. I, Himani Bakshi, along with the CBSE Bharat Sahodaya Complex, would like to again thank Madam Sengar for her gracious presence and an enriching experience. Also, I would like to thank Dr. Abdul Salam for his magnanimous support and guidance always. Thank you, sir, for this great opportunity. Also, a big thank you to the technical team and Arun Mohan sir for a flawless execution of today's session. And most importantly, thank you a million times to all the participants for their enthusiasm. I sincerely hope we earned the privilege of your time. Thank you. Over to you, Salam, sir.
Thank you, Himani. That was so graceful. Thank you so much. Ruchi ma'am, we have had another great session from you.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. We have to, keep enlightening our English teaching community. Definitely, they will get back to you. We have a lot of, connections as well. Many of the, educators who have joined are very much connected to you. But still, we'll have to use this platform in order to appraise them of the, updates and the techniques which they have to implement in the classroom. So thank you so much once again, ma'am, and may God bless you, Himani ma'am, all the educators who have joined. Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll meet again. All educators, thank you for joining. We appreciate your dedication and passion in learning. Even if it is a small query you have joined and you have got them cleared. So thank you so much. Once again, Himani ma'am, Ruchi ma'am, everyone, Arun sir and all. Have a good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Salam sir. Thank you, Ruchi ma'am. Thank you, Arun Mohan sir. Thank you so much. Hope to
Good
see you
night,
soon, sir.
everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.